Hello and welcome. My name is Laura Kriegermeirer and I'm the Elder Rights Coordinator at Heritage Area Agency on Aging. Today I will be talking about elder rights and how it pertains to certain issues in Iowa. An aging nation. Over the next 2 decades, the portion of the U.S. population over the age of 60 will dramatically increase as the baby boomers reach this milestone. By 2030, more than 70 million Americans will be 65 and older, twice the number than in 2000. Iowa's aging population. This first photo here is a county map from 2000 in Iowa. You will see there that most of the counties are in the yellow color, which is less than 20% of the population is 65 and older. You will see in this next photo how many counties are in the blue, which means they're 20% or more. This is due to the amount of people, like in the last slide, that are going to age up, the baby boomers, and because Iowa, there are many communities where individuals are older, that will be the case by 2030. The counties that you see there in the yellow are counties that are more populated, so there's going to be younger families, people being born. Some of those counties, for example, would be like Lynn County, Johnson County, Polk County, Woodbury County, Muscatine County, to name a few. What are elder rights? For the purpose of this presentation, I will be talking about 3 of the elder rights. Right to dignity. The elder have the inherent right to life, dignity, and the integrity of their persons, which shall be protected by law. Right to freedom from abuse, neglect, and exploitation. The elderly have the right to be free from abuse, neglect, and exploitation. The right to freedom from discrimination. The elderly have the right to be free from discrimination. They shall be treated equally, favorably, regardless of their health status or disability, as other age groups. The right shall be applied to all aspects of life, including but not limited to employment, access to education, accommodations, and other facilities. What is ageism and how does it play a role? Ageism is stereotyping, prejudice, and discrimination against people on the basis of their age. This can be dangerous because older adults can be overlooked for employment. Many employers might look to hire someone of a younger age because they can pay them less money or feel that they could get more work out of them. Older adults can be looked over for health concerns. This could be, a doctor looking at a situation and saying, oh, this is general weakness. This is just something that happens to you when you get older. Instead of looking into the issue further, that maybe there is something going on or some more underlying conditions there that they're not recognizing. Older adults can be restricted in activities. This could be, generalizing that older adults can't run a marathon or can't play certain sports, when in all actuality, they can run fast. They might be able to even outrun some younger people in a marathon. They might be able to play sports, into further life. It just all depends on someone's physical abilities. Older adults can be portrayed in certain ways in the media. Oftentimes people that are portrayed as elderly in the media, are hunched over using a walker, might make them a goofy personality that's confused and has, some memory loss. And oftentimes aren't portrayed, as individuals that, are still healthy and active and have their mind. Older adults can be mistreated or not taken seriously. Elder abuse is a huge issue that, older adults face in their life, because of ageism. They are portrayed to be able to be, duped or played by someone very easily. They're very vulnerable to different types of abuse, which we'll discuss further on in this presentation. Older adults can be excluded from their community. This is especially if they have some kind of disability or can't access buildings that maybe someone that's able-bodied is able to do. So for instance, if there was some kind of event in the community and it wasn't in a building that people could access very easily or had a lot of stairs, this could keep them from being included in that activity. Elder abuse, is this a hidden issue? In Iowa, there are not many laws or policies specific to elder abuse. In our laws, elders are not specifically protected. They have to be considered a dependent adult, which would mean that they would need a caregiver or someone to be able to help them complete their activities of daily living, or they aren't mentally capable of making decisions or being able to reach out for help if they were in need. Not many cases are accepted by Department of Human Services due to not being a dependent adult. Like I mentioned above, oftentimes people call in to make a report for elder abuse to the Department of Human Services, but if the individual is able to make their own decisions, if they're able to vocalize what they want and need, and they are not dependent in their everyday life, a lot of times those cases are not accepted. Elders themselves are apprehensive to report due to fear. This is because 90% of the time, the person that is exploiting the older adult is a family member, loved one, or friend, or someone in a relationship of trust. It is seen sometimes as a family issue by law enforcement. This is because they see it as a civil issue and they don't get involved in civil issues. A lot of times they refer people to the courts in these situations, which can be not helpful in situations where if someone was being financially exploited or they were assaulted, those would be a criminal issue. People aren't aware of services for older adults. I'm hopeful that this won't be the case by the end of the presentation, that more people will understand that there are services out there and there are ways to get help in these situations. So let's move on. So what is elder abuse? Elder abuse is the intentional act or failure to act by a caregiver or another person in a relationship of trust, involving an expectation of trust that causes or creates risk of harm to the older adult. The forms of elder abuse that are looked at in Iowa are physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, self-neglect, and financial exploitation. Physical abuse. This is the intentional use of physical force to cause harm to an older adult. This results in injuries, physical pain, chronic illness, functional impairments, or death. Some signs that you could see if someone is being financially physically abused, not financially exploited, are bruises or scrapes that are inconsistent with history. So if someone said that they fell down the steps and they had a big black eye, while that could happen, if it's somebody who normally doesn't fall down the steps, or maybe they just have a couple steps and it just doesn't seem like the story matches up, or you ask them again and it changes, that could be a sign. Broken bones are bones that are out of place. So again, if there was a situation where, someone said, oh, I just stumbled, but they have, a broken arm or a spiral fracture, or it looks like, someone got yanked or pulled out of their chair really harshly, that could be a sign. Swollen eyes or lips, lack of needed medical care. So in these instances, if they had an injury and you were like, oh, you need to go to the doctor to get that looked at, and they were really apprehensive, or they had a really bad wound that was infected or swollen or looked like it wasn't treated, this could be because they are worried that they're going to be questioned, or the caregiver is worried about getting questioned about what happened to the person that they're caring for. Flinching or shaking in fear when sudden movements. So this could be if you normally went up to somebody and you kind of put your arm on their shoulder and they kind of move away from you or flinch. Anything like that, just sitting in their chair and they seem to be kind of rocking or in fear, that could be another sign. Emotional abuse. This is the verbal or nonverbal behavior that results in infliction of anguish, mental pain, fear, or distress. Some signs of emotional abuse are a sudden change in mood or tearfulness. So if you notice that somebody is, usually happy-go-lucky, and now all of a sudden they seem to be really tearful or get angry very easily, or are just frustrated or quiet, those could be signs that maybe something is going on. Social isolation, not doing things they enjoy anymore. This one can be hard, especially right now during the pandemic, where people are trying to stay home and, avoid people. But, if it's someone that even normally, if you're their neighbor and you notice that they aren't outside gardening like they usually are, and they're really letting their yard overgrow, it could be signs of many things. But one that's not as obvious is maybe they are being emotionally abused, and it's really taking a toll on the things that they enjoy in life. Forgetfulness, confusion, or paranoia. Again, so, if this is somebody who's just really, you're used to them being with it and knows what's going on, and now all of a sudden they're kind of forgetting things, they're confused, but it all just kind of seems like it came on so fast. Maybe even someone that normally you'd go in their house and kind of help them put groceries away or do things to help them, and now they're telling you that they don't really want you in their house. That could be a sign. Change in behavior, just like above, just changes that you notice with them. Maybe they were someone that liked to talk on the phone and gab all the time, and now they don't really enjoy doing that, or don't really call you or answer the phone anymore. Caregiver neglect. So this is failure by a caregiver or responsible person, paid or unpaid, to protect elders from harm or meet essential needs such as medical care, nutritional, hygiene, activities of daily living, or providing shelter. Some signs of caregiver neglect are lack of cleanliness in living areas. This would be especially if someone had a paid provider to be cleaning their home or taking care of their home, and you notice that it's just still in a lot of disrepair, especially for what they should be paying someone to take care of their home. Pressure sores are untreated illness. So especially if someone is, bedridden or bedbound, they should have the proper equipment and should be rotated properly so they don't get those pressure sores or pressure ulcers. So if you notice that and they have someone who's supposed to be doing that for them, that could be a sign that, either they just don't understand or know what they should be doing for their job, but also they could be neglecting the person and not giving them the proper care. Either way, it needs to be addressed. Like we've talked about before with untreated illness, this could be another situation too, where the caregiver doesn't want them to go to the hospital to get treated for something because they don't want it to be brought to light that maybe they are neglecting their care or not giving them their proper medications or over medicating them too. Malnourishment or dehydration. So if you notice someone looks like their face is sunken in, like they're not eating enough, or maybe they look like they haven't been drinking enough, really dry skin. Could be the opposite too, where you notice that someone has really, just gained a lot of weight, or just looks like maybe they're not eating the right things. Poor hygiene, soiled clothing, or appears disheveled. This can be another sign, especially in this instance with a caregiver. If they have someone who's supposed to be helping them with their hygiene, helping them change, that could be another sign that that's not getting taken care of. Maybe their laundry isn't getting done and they're wearing the same clothes over and over again. Or they appear like they haven't showered in weeks, but someone's charging or billing to shower them in their home. Isolated, not attending activities or going to appointments. So again, this would be, a situation where maybe the caregiver is getting in the way of that person leaving the home, where it can be seen that, they are being exploited, or they're not getting proper medical care or food or nutrition. So someone that, maybe prior to having a caregiver was coming to, the adult day center, and now they're not attending anymore or not attending as much, getting pulled out of the care center. So those are all things to watch for there. Caregiver is suspicious or overly invested in all communication with the older adult. So this would be where, maybe the caregiver is coming in the room and sitting down while you're talking, with your family members or friends, intercepting the conversation, could be taking the phone when it rings, and, saying that you're not available, or listening in on conversations, or, answering questions that are directed to you, making up lies, things of that nature. Self-neglect. An older adult's inability to meet basic care needs due to physical or mental impairment. This inability creates a risk for older adult safety. Some signs are signs of poor nutrition, dehydration, extreme weight loss or gain. So just like in the last slide where I talked about how there was caregiver neglect, someone can also self-neglect and make those decisions to not take care of themselves as well either. This can be either just by, their own decisions, or because of their loss of mental capacity to make those decisions or make good decisions. Poor personal hygiene. This could be another sign too, where, someone's wearing the same clothes over and over, appears that maybe they're not doing their laundry or changing their clothing, taking a shower, extreme body odor. Also, to go back to personal hygiene, if you smell like a strong odor of, urine or feces, it could be that they're losing ability to control their bodily functions, not changing the appropriate equipment such as depends or briefs or anything like that as well. Poor medication management or handle of health issues. So, if someone, for example, is diabetic and they have to use insulation, they use insulin, sorry, not insulation, but they are not storing it properly. If it needs to be refrigerated, they might forget that they are supposed to be taking it, and not using it properly, forgetting to take medications, eating foods that they aren't supposed to be eating because of their medical condition, unsanitary living conditions. So similar to the picture to the right there, not only is it hoarding, but it also looks like there is also a lot of garbage. So living in conditions where, it's not kept, it's not clean. There could be rodents, there could be feces, there could be just dirt, different things in the home. Hoarding of items, garbage, or animals. So hoarding can come in all kinds of different forms. It can just be, people hoarding items, paperwork, not getting rid of things. It can be situations where it's just piles and piles of garbage or things that are disposable, fast food containers, garbage bags, newspapers. It can also be hoarding of animals. So if someone has multiple animals in the home, hundreds of cats, dead and alive, it could be all kinds just treated poorly in the home. Signs of unpaid bills, forgetting appointments or events. So this could be, if you're a neighbor and you notice that they're getting a bunch of shut off signs on their house, that are being posted, like a water shut off, or if you're someone that usually kind of helps them out around their house and you notice that there's stacks of bills, things that they are mail that they're not opening, not going to doctor appointments or things that they have set up. Confusion or wandering. So if you notice that an individual just seems like they're a bit more confused, don't remember things that you told them when they normally are able to, make plans or make appointments or remember things on their own. They're out wandering, it could be in cold weather without proper, outdoor clothing, could be in the middle of the night. That would be a cause for concern. The last one is lack of heat or water. So if someone, it could be a situation where they're hoarding and can't get into their bathroom to even use it, but it also could be where their water's been shut off, their water doesn't work, their well's dried out. So that would be also a concern. No heat in the winter, so the home is very cold, especially if they're using space heaters all over the home. That can be a huge fire hazard risk, so that would be a huge concern. Sexual abuse or exploitation. This is forced or unwanted sexual interaction, touching or non-touching of any kind. This would also be in circumstances where an older adult does not have the ability to consent. So some signs of this would be touching of private parts, unusual injuries in private area or pain. So if someone mentions that, you know, they're pointing to an area and saying that they're in pain, they brought up that maybe someone has touched them inappropriately that isn't supposed to be in that area, you know, not it's not a gynecologist, it's not a doctor of any kind, and a caregiver, they felt touched them inappropriately, that would be a big sign. A change in mood or behavior. So maybe someone you notice is dressing more modestly, covering themselves up more, don't want to go in the shower or take a bath anymore, or only will with a certain person. Torn clothing or blood on clothing, this would be another sign, you know, if there was some kind of assault done. Confusion, anguish, or distress. You know, this type of assault it can cause a lot of feelings, it can cause a lot of fear, embarrassment. So the older adult could really be showing some signs or some different moods after or changes in behavior. Urinary tract infection or sexually transmitted infections would be another sign of sexual abuse or exploitation. This usually can kind of go unnoticed, but in a combination with other things can be found, especially, you know, confusion can be a big sign of a urinary tract infection. Financial exploitation. This is the unauthorized, improper, or illegal use of elders' funds, property, resources, etc. for one's own profit. Some signs are documents that appear forged, such as powers of attorney, checks, living wills, etc. Someone seemingly overly interested in an adult's finances. So maybe all of a sudden they have a new friend that is going with them to the bank or is offering to help them sit down and pay their bills, or go, you know, saying, oh, well, if you write a check, I'll go, you know, pay your bill for you. New people lurking around, spending lots of time with the older adults. So like I talked about above, where, you know, we've had situations where an older adult has met someone on the bus and offered their home to them to come and stay for a couple days because they didn't have anywhere to stay. And so a lot of times those individuals can end up going to the home, bringing their items in, changing their address over and staying with them. So that's been a huge problem that we've seen, especially in the last year, where they've taken that friendly welcome to all of a sudden allowing themselves to move in. And once they become a resident, they have to be evicted in order to leave. That is a costly and lengthy process to get rid of someone in that situation. Bills not getting paid, late on paying, missing money, or suspicious activity in the bank account. Olders unaware of records, finances, and unable to access them. So maybe passwords have been changed on like their online banking, or maybe they, you know, are missing records in their home, important paperwork. That could be a sign. Deceiving or scamming the older adult. So we'll talk about a few more things specific to that, but maybe, you know, an older adult, you know, mentioned that they won a lottery or they won some money, but they have to send money first, could be a sign. Maybe they talk about someone offering to help them for free. So oftentimes if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. So some common related forms of financial exploitation are theft. So this involves assets taken without knowledge, consent, or authorization. May include taking cash, valuables, medications, and other personal property. Fraud involves acts of dishonesty by persons entrusted to manage assets, but appropriate assets for intended uses. May include falsification of records, forgeries, unauthorized check writing, grandparent scam, and romance scams. Real estate involves unauthorized sales, transfers, or changes to property titles. May include unauthorized or invalid changes to estate documents. Contractor includes building contractors or handymen who receive payments for building repairs but fail to initiate or complete project. May include invalid liens by contractors. Lottery scams involves payments or transfers of funds to collect unclaimed property or prizes from lotteries or sweepstakes. Electronic includes phishing emails to trick persons into unwittingly surrendering bank passwords. May include faxes, wire transfers, and telephonic communications. Trust abuse involves taking advantage of your trust or using intimate details of your life to exploit you. For example, taking money out of ATMs or taking extra money out of the ATM, getting you to sign things, threatening you if you do not give them what they're asking for. So next, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that can protect you, but also can limit your abilities and rights. So it's important to understand them before signing any document. The first is the power of attorney, or also known as the POA. The power of attorney is a legal document that gives authority for one person to act for another person in some or all legal and financial matters. There are 4 types of power of attorney: general, special or limited, durable, and springing. A general power of attorney is an unlimited scope and duration. It permits the agent to act as legal representative until it's revoked. A special or limited gives the agent power over specific situations when the person is unavailable or unable to take action because of other commitments or health reasons. A durable remains in effect until a condition stated in the document is met. And a springing does not become effective until a condition stated in the document is met. It's important to also note that a power of attorney can be revoked at any time as long as the person that has the power of attorney is mentally competent, and this must be determined by a doctor, a psychiatrist, or other medical professional. This can also be determined by a cognitive assessment or a court-ordered testing if someone refuses. Guardianship. This is a type of substitute decision-making that can cover all or some decisions about a person's medical care, nutrition, clothing, shelter, or resident, and other matters regarding the person, but not the person's finances. So there's full or general, and limited as well. So with guardianship, when is it needed? It's needed when a person cannot make his or her own informed decisions due to mental incapacity. Someone else needs authority to assume responsibility for that person's affair. Court must appoint one unless there's a pre-existing legal authority in place. So it's important to note that a guardianship should be put in place in extreme situations. It's important to put that in place when someone is in a situation where maybe they're being exploited and continuing to be in that situation where they're at risk or their life is at risk, their finance, or not their finances, but just their overall well-being can be affected. So important to make sure that you talk to someone to get legal advice. So like an attorney or someone that understands guardianship well before filing that, because it is something that is determined by the courts and can be hard to reverse, extremely hard. And it also is a costly venture, and it also can take quite a bit of time to get in place. I forgot to mention on the power of attorney, when is it important to get a power of attorney? I think it's important to get a power of attorney anytime. I think that this is a way to make your decisions while you're mentally able to do so, and you're not mentally incapacitated. So it's important to think about what type of power of attorney best suits you, out of the 4, and get that put in place for your situation, to make sure that you have someone that you trust to be able to look over that. Conservatorship. So a conservatorship is the type of substitute decision making that can cover all or only some decisions about a person's finances, property, and or real estate. So a conservatorship also has a full or limited conservatorship. So that can be, in place where either someone has full ability to cover your finances and pay bills and be in charge of your finances, or they only have access to some. So maybe they just have access to real estate, but they don't have access to your day-to-day banking. When is this needed? So this is also granted by the court when an adult can't make their own decisions and is incapacitated, at least to some extent. So a good time to have this done is maybe if the older adult is having financial troubles, or especially if it's a result of financial exploitation. So maybe there's someone that keeps falling into these situations where they're being frauded or being taken advantage of by a scammer. That would be, a good time to decide that maybe someone needs a conservatorship. Also, a payee can be put in place. Also, another time that this would be important is if someone falls ill, so they're not able to pay their bills. Maybe they could be in a medically induced coma, so then this could be petitioned to the courts, that someone needs to be able to handle the finances in the situation. How can we protect ourselves or our loved ones in these situations? So, protect your accounts and assets by assigning a power of attorney, guardian, conservator, financial advisor, etc. So just like in the slides that I mentioned before, it's important to understand and look into all of those and decide what would be the best for you or for your loved one in the situation. Appoint someone you trust or a financial institution you trust. So like I mentioned before, it's really important that if you have the ability to make this decision now and to do some future planning, that you do this as soon as possible while you're still able to make those decisions. Know your rights when signing documents. Ask questions. So make sure that anytime you're signing a document that you totally understand what you're signing before you do sign it. If you don't understand a certain part of it, you need to ask, and you need to advocate for yourself, or ask, a loved one or an attorney to look over any documents before having those signed. Always, always, always make sure that you ask for a copy and keep it in a safe place. Anytime you're signing any kind of documents or making any legal decisions, you need to make sure that you have a copy for yourself. Even if you trust the attorney or you trust the family members that are doing that document, it's important that you have a copy of it. So then if you were ever in a situation where you thought, oh, I don't quite remember what that was, then you can pull it out and look at it. Like I mentioned also before, you have the right to revoke your power of attorney. As long as you haven't been deemed not able to make decisions, you are able to revoke your power of attorney. So if you're not happy with whoever is your power of attorney or you're being exploited, you can get that revoked. You can get a revocation paperwork and have it notarized, or even in a medical situation, you can revoke it any time as long as you understand what is going on. Protecting yourself continued. Have access to communication. It's important that, in this day and age, you're able to contact other people if you're in a situation where you could be exploited or abused. Having a cell phone is really important, or a landline in your home. You want to make sure that you're not isolated without means of communication in case you needed anything. It's also important that if you need one, you could have a personal emergency response or a lifeline button. So if you fell or you were trapped somewhere, that you could push the button and emergency individuals could come out to the home. In many situations, we've also had where if someone was being abused or scared, that they pushed the button too, and someone has responded out to the home in that situation. Don't be afraid to speak up. Make sure you advocate for yourself or ask someone to advocate for you. You have a voice, you have choice, you're able to look into all situations before making a decision. Don't ever feel like you don't have the right to think about something before making that decision, or look it over with someone else. Reach out to a family member, friend, organization, just like our organization at the Heritage Area Agency on Aging. An elder abuse petition. This can be filed at the courts. You have to be 60 or older to petition the courts, but this would grant a temporary or a full protective order against someone who is exploiting or abusing you in a situation. This can be filed by you or a concerned party. So it's important to note that you don't have to continue to stay in a situation with that person. There are protections that can be put in place. Consult with the Area Agency on Aging, which are all across Iowa, local ombudsman's office, attorneys, or doctors about concerns. So like I said above, make sure that you're advocating for yourself, you're researching, but also consulting with other people that might understand or know more about the legal ramifications of certain documents or situations. Who do I report to? For dependent adults, this would be anyone who's over the age of 18 who would be considered dependent, has some kind of caregiver, an investigation and intervention by DHS and law enforcement. So in this situation, if they're a dependent adult, Department of Human Services and law enforcement can get involved. It's also important to note in the red that anyone who is a mandatory reporter must report suspected dependent adult abuse. So this could be a doctor's office, this could be a social worker, a fire department, or ambulance, just to name a few. Elder abuse. This is any abuse, neglect, or exploitation of an individual over 60. Doesn't have to be a caregiver that's doing the exploitation or abuse. Law enforcement can be involved if it's criminal, but you can also report to the Heritage Area Agency on Aging. We have a program called our Elder Rights Program that might be able to help you. Our Elder Rights Program is here to assist victims of elder abuse, neglect, and/or exploitation by presenting elders with a variety of options, services to enhance their lifestyle with the goal of reducing or eliminating the abuse and stabilizing the individual. So in our program, we don't have authority to arrest someone or bring justice, but what we can do is we can help you by detecting the abuse. So anyone can call in and report, a concerned individual, a family member, a friend, or even yourself that maybe some kind of abuse is going on. We make reports to the Department of Human Services in situations that are appropriate if the person is dependent. We intervene, so we can intervene in a number of different ways. We can help advocate or empower you. We can help you by filling out forms, making referrals, reaching out to different organizations that might be able to help. Can help file police reports, file elder abuse petitions, help connect you to legal resources or legal advice. And in some situations, we have some grant funding that we might be able to help somebody, that's been a victim get out of their situation, help pay for something, or get connected to other services that might be able to help reduce or eliminate the abuse ongoing. We also try to make referrals within our own agency to help make sure that even when the abuse stops, that or calms down, that someone is still looking out for them or looking out for you. and can help keep an eye on the situation. And then prevention. So our hope is always to try to stop the abuse and prevent it from happening in the future. So like I mentioned, trying to make referrals to other programming or get in touch with someone who's going to continue to protect or keep eyes on the situation is always our intention. Here's my contact information below. I also have the information for the Department of Human Services for Dependent Adult Abuse report, our main line at the Heritage Area Agency, and then my information below. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope that you will reach out with questions or concerns or even referrals in this situation. And I appreciate everything that you guys all do day to day to protect yourselves, but also to protect your loved ones. Thank you.